What began as a quest to find and purchase, no matter its state, my Range Rover that I sold 30 years ago, has led me to this. Sleeping the night, curled on the back seat, to be woken by the Australian bush calls and being reacquainted with the familiar smell of gear oil. This series of videos is that story.
Got a couple of bloody steel cases.
Repent, the burning bush. I'm Andrew St Pierre White. Join me as I share my passion for building four-wheel drive trucks and then travelling to the remotest parts of the world. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe and remember to hit that notifications bell to make sure you catch our weekly videos. Leading the charge this morning is Pete. With the help of Stuart, they're going to be doing the suspension, replacing all of the bushes and the shock absorbers. As for me, well, I have two things to do. When it comes off the lift, I'll be checking out the cooling system, which is a bit of a concern. If it's been well maintained, that'll be fine. If not, it'll be rotten and need a lot of work. Day two of the restoration. This process for me has been a massive, just a flood of nostalgia and trying to remember how I solved various problems. And at first, very, very intimidating, and now far less so because I think I've got some experts that are helping me out here. Today, continuing the suspension. Yesterday, we managed to do the brakes. We replaced the rotors and pads in the front. We're now continuing with the suspension. We might finish the suspension today, pretty good chance, and then we'll get on to the engine. But I just walking underneath the vehicle yesterday, remembering so much, so many familiar things, and so many familiar questions. I also have another task, and that is to set the vehicle up and prepare it for my trip in terms of keeping cameras rolling on the way no matter what happens. I'll get to that a bit later. And you might be thinking at this very moment, oh, I've bought a rust bucket. It's a lot of surface rust, but it's surface. There's only one piece that I can find where the rust has actually eaten the metal. It's all on the surface. So yeah, in order to get it in really good shape, one would have to strip it down completely, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do that, maybe in the future. But this, although it looks terrible, it's not terrible. It isn't. It isn't. And the areas like this that are vulnerable to rust, there's no rust, hardly any surface rust, even. It's a beautiful thing. Let me just push that back. Let me go for a second. Line these up. So the Range Rover, of course, is sharing workshop space with a Discovery One. Discovery One was launched in about 1985, 86, somewhere around there, and it was basically the Range Rover underpinnings with a different body on it. So it shares a lot of components. And the Discovery One I still consider as one of the best beginners four-wheel drive. It's insanely good off-road. It's really quite comfortable on-road. Its spare parts are reasonable. They're not cheap, but they're not overly expensive. And it makes a wonderful first step into four-wheel driving. And the best part about it is, because Land Rovers can be a bit troublesome, and you're going to learn a lot about fixing cars. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. But they're incredibly cheap. And that's one of the problems with them, in a way, is that while they're cheap to buy, they're not that cheap to run if you keep having to go to a workshop and have work done to fix it. Because quickly, the work will cost more than the vehicle. So if you're going to buy a Disco One, Be prepared to learn. And then they become affordable, and then they become enormous fun. Now that the engine is accessible, I can check out the cooling system. On the face of it, things look quite good. The condition of the coolant itself will tell us a lot.
They feel good, don't they? Those
Yeah,
hoses.
they're not that old.
And these aren't that old either. These ones here.
Yeah.
These don't feel old.
If there is the least sign of corrosion, that means replacing the radiator and the water pump.
Who's this?
Wow, this is really good.
Not many people.
It's green. Not a trace of brown in it.
Yeah, so just looking in there, you can see the
That's the way it should look.
coolant's in good nick. You can see the cores running across the radiator. They haven't got no calcium build up enough on them, so I reckon this coolant system's in pretty good nick.
What do you reckon? Replace the radiator? I mean, I can't see anything wrong with this. But a radiator that's 40 years old, surely, even with inhibitor.
Yeah, it's definitely in good condition. You can see the condition of the fins. There's no rot in the radiator whatsoever, and it's had inhibitors and coolant in it.
It's a bit
obviously
dirty
most
on
of
this
it's light.
side. On the inside, it's a bit, but you see what I mean? Inside there.
Yeah, tiny bit. Yeah, it's up to you for peace of mind and security. I mean, while we're doing belts and bits and pieces, we can always drop it out and put a new one in.
It's quite, and it's not a particularly difficult job, is it?
Nah, it's 2 bolts, a couple of hoses, and they're just located by 2 pins in the chassis.
That's right.
Yeah,
Pins out.
lift
Yeah.
it straight out. You'd know, you've had one out a few times in the past.
Yeah, when I smashed the front of mine, I had to rebuild the whole thing.
Yeah.
I actually even had the fan, put it in a fire because it was bent.
Oh,
The
right,
radiator went straight into the fan,
Yeah.
and hammered it straight. Got it nice and hot and hammered it straight because I was worried about it cracking.
Get it cherry, yeah, and panel beat it.
That decision will be easier to make once the final cooling system pressure test is done. And I have a bit of time to think about it while they finish up the suspension. Working on a Range Rover's engine is nothing new to me. During the 8 years and 8 months that I owned mine, it performed many tasks, including supporting my love of sailing and later a love of flying. I worked her hard and took her on many expeditions, including one to Botswana in 1988. That's a story I've got to tell you, and I'll do that on my way to Perth.
Carrying about 226 litres of fuel, and the car is taking a hammering. The roads have been absolutely terrible.
And off-road club competitions.
And we'll come back later when I think of a few more excuses why I screwed up totally on that section. Let's drink.
But of all the work she did for me, the most memorable was the day I destroyed the engine. I used it to launch a yacht that 3 friends and I had built. But unknown to me, the differential lock actuator vacuum pipe had come off. So while it was deep in the water, water was being sucked into the engine. It destroyed all of the crankshaft and camshaft bearings. Here is the bearing cap, with evidence of sand grains having cut through the white metal down to the copper. I did all the rebuild myself.
Before I left home, I prepared for the trip. I'm not going to be camping or anything like that, but what happens if I have a breakdown and I'm in the middle of the wilderness and I need to effect repairs or ask for help and I might be stranded? So I'm going to get some very, very basic support equipment in the vehicle. And I thought to myself, well, I might be staying at hotels and charging batteries every night for the shoot. What happens in the car? I need to be able to charge camera batteries. So I bought myself the National Lunar battery box, Heine Klarman's version of it. And I have a Amtron lithium battery. Thank you, Amtron, for donating the battery. Amtron supply me with my troop carrier batteries, and I use them in my clients' vehicles because they're very good value for money batteries. I like them a lot. And so that bracket goes in like that, and then the battery goes in like that. So this will also power the Snowmaster fridge, which is down there. Asked them for a 40 litre, which will be the... I'll actually keep that in my workshop. I actually want a cool drink beer fridge in my workshop at my home, and it'll run off the solar power that powers the workshop. And so when it's not sitting in the back of the Range Rover, this fridge will be my fridge in my workshop.
Connecting this auxiliary battery means running a fairly heavy cable all the way to the start battery. I've already made up the cable with an inline fuse.
Pre-made, straight to the battery, fuse in there, and connected to the other side, but we're going to have to probably drill a hole in the floor plan.
Pull this back on and I'll get the pressure tester out.
Time now to pressure test the cooling system. It has to hold its pressure, because if it doesn't, I'll just have to fix it then.
15 psi. Cap should hold.
Oh no, it's not holding! What are we going to do? Try changing the pressure cap. It didn't work.
You mean from a leaking heater hose?
Heater core. £9 due. I thought that would have been 16-18 psi, but it's not holding. So that cap.
It's better now when we've taken it off,
Yeah.
cleaned it a bit and put it back. That's the best cap.
Yeah, it is. It's sealing better. That's right. So it's holding reasonably good pressure. Not ideal 15 psi, which we would like, but very slight crack in the header tank.
Aha! We've found the reason for the pressure drop. It's a hairline crack in the brass header tank.
Where we could feel the air coming out. You see the bubbles appearing there in the header
Yeah,
tank?
that's why I said thought I felt it. Right,
Yeah.
there you go.
It's got a crack.
I don't know if you're filming that, but you're now filming
The ground. You film it down there.
Well, it's more interesting. So this is the first thing we found that we can't actually repair here or sort out with the box of spare parts that was supplied to us. So we have to find another way.
That's okay. We might have to just whip this one out then and get it bronzed up. Just thought I'd try my luck with you guys. You never know. He's got some weird and wonderful things out the back sitting under all the dust. Yeah. No, that's it. Legend. Thanks, bud. Cheers.
Being brass, we can repair it.
There's a hairline crack right through there.
Had it been plastic, like modern ones, we would have to replace it. Ideally, we would send it away to have it silver soldered. But instead, ordinary solder will do, and that I can do myself.
Not a pretty sight. Then again, we're not trying to make it pretty.
See if it makes any difference with this cap.
Once it's cooled, it's time to test my repair.
Well, actually, you know what? That repair is holding, but now that repair's holding, we've just got a slight leak just at our fitting here, which is fine. But there's no leak there where we've done the repair. None at all. It's not the most prettiest thing in the world, but it'll work.
Radiator.
I think it's a good radiator. The cooling system's been really well maintained in the car, so I don't think there's any reason to change that whatsoever. Same as the water pump. You can just tell by the condition of the coolant that it's been regularly serviced and maintained. Oils and things like that we dropped out of this vehicle were surprisingly clean for the age of it, so whoever's owned this vehicle has looked after it, definitely.
I'm almost disappointed that I didn't see, oh, okay, that has to be changed.
Yeah.
Because the cooling system is
That's right,
it's
that's right.
absolutely clean. I
We get
amazed.
vehicles come through here of only 100,000, 150,000 Ks on them, and the condition of the oils are worse than this.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's definitely good sign. Good clean oils through there. We dropped them anyway, just in case. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, surprisingly, it has been well maintained, looked after.
And oil and water pump as well.
Yep. I don't think there's any need to change any of that. I don't think you're going to have any issues whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
If I do, can I have a shot of you saying I don't think you'll have any issues whatsoever, then I'll put an echo behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Done.
With a long shot of the car with the bonnet open.
As long as you
Alright,
don't use
we'll do
that
that.
against us later when you break
Well, I need
down.
to go. If he breaks down across the Nullarbor due to cooling system failure, I will come and help old mate for free.
Just if you do break
Alright,
down,
I'm sold.
mate,
I'm sold.
if you do break down, make it near an airport.
Yeah, I will. I'll remember that.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. So let's talk alternator. Right. That's the one they supplied.
Yeah.
It's a 65 amp, which is about same as standard.
Should be
You're
same.
saying that that's not the Lucas alternator.
No, that's right. It's not a Lucas alternator, so someone's replaced it with a better quality, more reliable unit in the past.
Okay. So now I don't feel a desperate need to change it.
No.
What would you do?
Look, basically all we'll do is we'll run a multimeter over there, make sure we've got about 14.2 volt output.
Yeah.
And if its charge rate is around that,
That's
then
good.
golden.
Then
And
leave it.
As long,
And they're quite easy to change over, so I'll have that as a spare.
you
so-
could swap that out on the side of a track in
Yeah,
about 10,
exactly.
15 minutes.
The next system to check is the fuel system and that very noisy fuel pump.
Fuel system, yeah.
Yep, we're definitely going to replace pump and filter.
Okay.
You can see it's been leaking.
So the only part of the vehicle that we've discovered that is actually a bit of a mess is the fuel lines and fuel pump.
It looks like a very old unit, so that might let you down across Nullarbor. So put a brand new facet pump in there, supplied by Brickpart.
Okay, good.
Hey,
Yeah.
just saying, look at the state of the fuel coming out of this old filter. You'll see the colour of it here. Yeah, brown that is.
That is the first thing that we have found that I know for sure would have stopped me in my tracks.
We're lucky we're changing it up.
So what do you reckon about the condition of the fuel tank itself inside, corrosion and things like that?
Yeah, look, they are prone to rust in the bottom because they are steel tank, and you sort of do need to drain them and flush them every now and then. It all depends again on the person who owns the vehicle, if they run good quality premium fuels or run those cheap like E85s and things like that, which, you know, that fuel breaks down and separates. You can get a lot of condensation built up in the bottom of the tank and rust. And that's probably what a lot of this is, what it's picked up over time. How much fuel was in the tank of this?
It was empty when I got it.
How much did you put in it?
I put 20 litres.
Okay, we can probably crack it and see what comes out, because water will sit on the bottom of fuel anyway.
Okay, I purposely didn't fill it
Oh, that's all right.
in case we needed to drain it.
Yep.
It's always very satisfying putting the wheels back on after they've been off for a while,
Yeah.
doing a bit of work.
You feel like getting somewhere once they go back on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a bit of
Close your eyes.
Blowing as a whistle, mate. A little bit of rubbish in the bottom, but
Breathe easy.
nothing that I wouldn't have expected. Doesn't even smell stale.
Taste?
No, I'm going to pass, but you're welcome to try it.
And that means chances of corrosion in the tank low.
It's getting close to knocking off time. We've had a really brilliant day. But just as I am thinking about the evening meal, Pete has a surprise.
What are we?
There's your spare set of keys.
It's the original set of spare keys.
Spare keys, what do you know? Hey, well spotted.
They're covered in mud. So to celebrate the end of Chapter 1, which for me is arriving safely in Perth, I'll give them a good clean-up.
Why brush?
Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, subscribe and click the notifications bell so you don't miss our weekly videos.